It's rare that we see a player get emotional at the podium during training camp, but that's exactly what we got on Wednesday morning as Taylor Moton was nearly brought to tears thinking about this potentially being his last season in Carolina. Will 2025, in fact, be it for T-Mo? We'll break it all down right here on Locked On Panthers.
You are Locked On Panthers, your daily Carolina Panthers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into another edition of the Locked On Panthers podcast, the part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, as always, Julian Council, talking Carolina Panthers with you every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and yes, of course, Friday, your team every day. That's our motto here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for watching this show right here on YouTube and listening wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Be sure to follow me, Julian Council, over on Twitter and Blue Sky at Julian Council, because on Friday we have a special training camp edition of the weekly Friday mailbag. Matter of fact, the final weekly Friday mailbag of the year, but do not worry. Starting week one, the weekly Wednesday mailbag is here every single Wednesday throughout the regular season, and fingers crossed, the playoffs for your Carolina Panthers. All you got to do participate this Friday is either at me or DM me over on Twitter at Julian Council or at me over on Blue Sky, also at Julian Council, to get your questions in for this special training camp edition of the weekly Friday mailbag right here on Locked On Panthers. Day 7 of Panthers Training Camp is a wrap, as they had a long, hot, and competitive training camp practice on Wednesday morning in Uptown Charlotte. Tetairoa McMillan, the 8th overall pick in the 2025 draft out of Arizona, according to Dave Canales, had his best camp practice thus far. We'll talk about what he was able to do and how he stood out on Wednesday morning. Brant Tillis, the executive vice president of football operations here in Carolina, he spoke to the media after practice, giving us some updates on the situation surrounding Taylor Moton, Ikem Ekwonu, as well Bryce Young. So we're going to go over that here momentarily. But let's start off by talking about T-Mo, Taylor Moton. Maybe you've seen it by now, but he was emotional after training camp, thinking about this potentially being his last year here in Carolina. And I will show you the entirety of that clip because you got to hear it from his own mouth, much like with Hunter Renfrow the other day. You had to hear from him what he's gone through. I want you guys to hear from Taylor Moton, how this guy has fought for this city, for this team, and for you as a fan of the Carolina Panthers. But there's not enough you can really say about what he's been doing here as a Panther throughout the course of his 8 years now, entering his 9th season here in Carolina. Since 2017, Taylor Moton has played in 129 games, starting 113 of those contests during his first 8 years as a Panther. He had played, up until last year, a possible 120 games out of 120 games. Like, incredible, since he had been drafted in 2017. He had not missed an offensive snap in the 76 contests prior to exiting the game in week 5 of an elbow injury in Chicago. Moton had played in every single offensive down from week 13 of the 2019 season up until going out with injury in the first half of that game again last year in Chicago. He had made 104 straight starts before then missing 3 games last season in 2024. He has been graded out as a top 25 offensive tackle in 6 of his 7 years that he's been a starter here in Carolina. Despite all of that, despite him being an Iron Man, despite him being the only positive and consistent player on the offensive line over the last 8 seasons, Dan Morgan, the Carolina Panthers president of football operations and general manager, and Brant Tillis, the president of the executive vice president of football operations, who handles salary cap and contracts. Despite all of that Taylor Moton has done, they decided that they were fine with Moton coming into the final year of his deal with a $31.3 million cap charge. And how did they get there? Well, because every offseason until this past offseason, since he signed an extension, the Panthers organization has decided to go ahead and to rework his deal, to restructure it. And that's led to the cap charge that he has, which is by far the highest on the team here in 2025, which you, of course, already know by now, having watched and listened to this show over the course of the offseason, as we've discussed. Would this be the final year for Taylor Moton? And Taylor was candid with us on Wednesday morning when he was asked just that question by Joe Persino of The Athletic about this potentially being his last year. And what he said, it surprised me because I did not expect to see this kind of emotion from Taylor Moton.
I try not to think about it. I've had some of my best years here in Carolina. I know we haven't won, but the city, being a Panther means a lot to me. So it's crazy. You don't know. Obviously, I don't want the years to continue, but if it's my last year here, I want it to be my best year. I want it to be the offensive line's best year, the offensive unit's best year, the team's best year. Do whatever I can to help us be our best yet. So I'm a little emotional about it. No. All the blood, all the sweat, all the tears, right? I've been through so much here. Being a Panther means a lot to me. The city means a lot to me. I found my family here, I found my son here, you know? So much sacrifice has gone out on that football field, the practice field, here at Bank of America Stadium. I put so much time, so much heart into it, right? So it's just crazy, you know? But at the end of the day, just focus on finishing this out the right way. If it is, you know, obviously, like I said, I have some good years left, but I have a deep passion for this city, for this organization, for all the guys in the locker room, all the staff, everyone involved in, you know, making this thing go. So.
Yeah, well, absolute worst time for a train to go by. And we were all sitting there thinking that, and we were all trying to hear what he had to say. But it's just a reminder that these are people too. And I know there's a lot of emotions that y'all have on Sundays. A lot of them are over the top. Of course, you know, you're a fan. You're justified to feel however you want. But you heard it right there. This guy, Taylor Moton, has put a lot of energy, a lot of heart into this city. And on that field, whether it be on a practice field over on Cedar Street or in Bank of America Stadium right off of Mint Street, the blood, sweat, and tears. And you saw it right there. You saw plenty of sweat as he could not stop sweating. It was hot as hell out there, man. And then, of course, the tears that he fought back. And, I mean, you love to see the emotion. It's a reminder of just how much this means to these guys. It's a reminder of just who they are and their humanity, which gets lost so often in sports and in sports fandom. And I'm guilty of it with teams that I love. And certainly, I mean, we're all guilty of it. But it's just really cool to hear from him. And, like, I used to go over the Golf Tech off Tyvola and get lessons over there. And Taylor would be over there on Thursdays a lot of times. And I'd be there just kind of practicing. And one of the coaches, Tyler, worked with Taylor. And I would ask Tyler about, you know, Taylor Moton. And Tyler just said he's one of the great guys that you ever meet. So, I mean, I someone who's from the city, it feels good to hear somebody who comes to this organization, feels the way they feel about my hometown. And, like, that's cool to see. And I hope it works out for him. We'll see. Like, it's a business. And Brant Tillis, the president of football, the executive vice president of football operations, who handles salary cap and contracts, he spoke to us after Taylor, and he was there to see Taylor get emotional. So you can only imagine how it feels for him, the guy who's decided that, no, Taylor, we're not going to open up salary cap space by restructuring and make sure that you stick around for possibly another year. We're not going to extend you. We're going to see how things play out. So you can only imagine how he feels seeing that, because it's not like it's his fault that Taylor is up there emotional. But, of course, it plays into it because he does have some of the power when it comes to making a decision. And Dan's going to have the final say, I believe, in making a decision of whether Taylor Moton is going to be a Carolina Panther in 2026 and beyond. And Taylor told us that he does believe that he has another contract left in him. And so I'd imagine that's another 3-4 years playing in the NFL. And we'll see if that's going to be in Carolina. And again, Brant, he came up, spoke to us afterwards. Unfortunately, the Panthers, I guess, stopped rolling on the video for him. So there's no audio for me to relay to you, but I was sitting there. I asked him some questions. I'll go over that here momentarily. But he did say that he saw him get emotional, and that that's the hard part about the business, that you got to make the best decision for the organization. He said that they're going to make the best decision for the Carolina Panthers. If bringing back Taylor Moton is what that is, and it aligns with what Taylor wants, what the team wants, then they'll do it. If not bringing him back, is what aligns with, I guess, both parties, or if both parties are on the same page, then that's what they'll do. They're going to do what's the best for the Carolina Panthers. So with that being said, man, it kind of felt like a goodbye in a way when listening to Taylor. And then with Brant, he's not, I'm not saying he's not an emotional guy, but the way he certainly presents things, they don't come with emotion. So it's not like he's heartless, because he certainly is. And listening to him talk, he definitely cares about these guys. And mentioned how his job's difficult, and hell, what those guys do is difficult, as they spent 2 hours in the grueling summer heat in uptown Charlotte preparing for this upcoming season. Like, he doesn't like the idea of telling guys that, no, it does not work out for the team to give you this amount of money and for you to come back and be a part of the team's plan. So we'll see how that plays out. We talked about this on the show yesterday about a potential extension on the horizon for Ikem Ekwonu, because of what's happened recently with Rashawn Slater becoming the highest paid offensive tackle in the history of the NFL, according to average annual value, making $28.5 million per year to play left tackle for the Chargers. And the next day, on Monday, Bernard Raymond up in Indianapolis with the Colts, signing a $100 million contract, $25 million per year, making him one of the top 5 highest paid offensive tackles in the NFL. And I wondered on the show yesterday if that would change anything for Carolina, if that would spur action. And I asked Brant Tillis that question, and Brant told me that he saw the extensions for Slater and for Raymond, and that has not changed anything for the Panthers, and that they felt like those deals came at the numbers that they expected. And right now, they're going about business the same way they were going to go about business, whether Slater and Raymond were both extended there on Sunday and on Monday, respectively. He also mentioned that it's tough to get deals done with ascending players heading into their 3rd year. So he believes that Ikem Ekwonu is an ascending player. Was really good his rookie year, was not very good his 2nd year. Last year, bounced back, played well. Look at the PFF numbers, maybe the best of his career so far. So yes, certainly after 3 years, where Carolina decided that they want to exercise a 50-year option, they value him as an ascending player, but they understand that at this point in time, it's going to be difficult to get a deal done. And if Ikem potentially waits, maybe he plays well enough this season to where he's a Pro Bowler, an All-Pro, and then that gets him to go to maybe that $29 million per year deal to then maybe be the highest paid offensive tackle in the history of the NFL as far as average annual value goes. And that may be something that you're not really able to wrap your mind around, but we've talked about this with contracts. Like JC Horn happened for him. And I do think that JC is a better corner at his position than Ikem is at left tackle. I totally understand that, but contracts are what they are. And if Taylor Moton's not going to be around, then that's only going to, I think, help Ikem's case. As do the Panthers want to be starting over, and they wouldn't be, because they're going to have Ikem under contract again next year with the 5th-year option. But do they want to be in a position where they're starting over with a new right tackle, and then they have a left tackle entering into the final year of his deal, and they're not so sure how things are going to play out? And Brant was pretty plain about it in saying that he does not see Ikem as someone who's up for a contract. And Joe Person followed up and asked, so is that you saying that you value Taylor more than that? He's not necessarily saying that either. But right now, the way that he sees it, the way the Panthers see it, they don't see Ikem Ekwonu as someone who's up for a contract. And I'm curious if that gets back to Ikem and his representation and how they may feel about it. And maybe Ikem feels the same way. I don't know. He told us last week he's going to let his agent handle all that, and I believe him. Taylor said the exact same thing. And most players are going to tell you they're going to let the agents handle it. And Brant brought up the fact that that's a good thing. It's why the players have agents, so they can take the emotion out of it, and that he can work with the agent can relay with the player. And it's not one of those things where the player, and some players do negotiate their own contracts. It's rare, but there are guys out there, and that can probably be a little bit more of an awkward situation than the supposed traditional setup of having an agent. And I did ask him just about timing, though, because we have seen guys like Andrew Thomas. He's gotten his 5th-year option exercised, and later that summer got an extension. Tristan Wirfs, same case. Christian Darrisaw as well. And I asked Brant that, is the team's preference as far as the cadence goes, playing out year 3, which Ikem's already done, then you exercise 5th-year option, then you have the guy play out year 4, then you sign the big deal. That's how it played out with Derek Brown, even though Brant and Dan had only been on the job in their roles for over like a month and a half, if even that. So that's maybe not the best example, but at least with JC Horn, we saw how that played out with him as well, where it was fifth-year option. They were certainly taking a risk there and betting on JC. That paid off, and they've given him a $100 million contract. Is that their preferred cadence? And he basically told me at the end of it, and hard to remember everything he had said. I was hoping to have the video to go back and to listen to everything he said again, but he said that they like to get deals done early. So we'll see what early means to them, because based off of Derek Brown and JC Horn, early is heading into their fifth-year option year. After the first 4 years where they've already exercised the fifth-year option, they want to get it done that offseason opposed to waiting until the next offseason, much like with Brian Burns and how all of that played out. So that appears to be early, where you could question would now be truly early as far as go with Ikem Ekwonu heading into his fourth season and not allowing him the opportunity to play even better and to maybe see that number go up more than they're probably anticipating it being at this point in time. But maybe they have a plan. Well, they certainly have a plan. I don't know what the number is. I don't know where they're at, other than Taylor Moton. We'll see. You know, if Icky, it's not time for him, but he is an ascending player. So all that will be certainly fodder throughout the season and something we'll probably have to address next offseason in 2026. But some good updates there from Brant Tillis and some raw human emotion from Taylor Moton that you love to see a guy care about something in somewhere as much as that you do. So I hope all of you guys appreciated Timo being open and honest and vulnerable with us on Wednesday morning. But I'm sure you also appreciate some observations that I had from day 7 of Panthers Training Camp. We'll give you those here in just a moment on Locked on Panthers. Time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink minus the alcohol into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, this one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Let's be honest, some days on the course or off it, you just need that extra boost to stay sharp and energized. And y'all, I'm a big golfer. Love the game. My favorite golf memory by far is getting to play Pebble Beach, walking those fairways, being on those greens at one of the most amazing courses in the entire world is something I will always remember and cherish. Golf is all about good times with good people and good flavors. Of course, the grape ginger lime flavor gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without chasing down the bev cart. If you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that is the number 5hourenergy.com. You can use my promo code LOCKEDONGolf to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Whether you're meeting up with friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36, get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order transfusion flavored 5-Hour Energy shots today. The Carolina Panthers were back in pads for the second time during training camp for day 7 of training camp ahead of the 2025 regular season. A couple of my observations from Wednesday morning's practice. Mike Jackson was out once again. Hunter Renfrow and Patrick Jones II also were not in uniform. Some updates from Dave Canales on those guys here momentarily. JC Horn and Adam Thielen both had veteran days on Tuesday. They were back in pads out there on Wednesday morning. Tommy Tremble continuing to work his way back from offseason back surgery. Saw him running routes before practice and during warm-up. So we'll see when Tommy is able to go. Dave telling us more of a week-to-week kind of situation. Maybe could be heading to that Houston game, possibly the finale against Pittsburgh. I'm guessing that we don't see Tommy Tremble really out in any game until week 1 down in Jacksonville, but it will be interesting to see if he can be available for the joint practice in a couple of weeks in Houston, or at least one of those preseason games. But I'm expecting probably not to really see Tommy out there truly full go until week 1 when they play the Jags down in Duval. Corey Thornton, he was running once again with the ones with Mike Jackson out, and Corey Thornton's the guy who Dave Canales talked about after practice that he earned these opportunities. And I had asked JC Horn about this and what he had seen from Corey, and he's the UDFA from Louisville, by the way. And JC mentioned last week that he's earned those opportunities from what he did in the spring. And Dave Canales said again, he has earned those opportunities because of what he's done in the spring, and it's been very clear that they like him. And we saw last year to Minor Richardson, he earned his way. We spoke to him after practice, and he told when I asked him just about advice he's given to UDFAs this year, undrafted free agents, that is, and he has said he's given them the same advice that he was given in the past, and he's just told them what he did to make it. And I'm guessing that a guy like Corey Thornton has gotten that advice as well, and he has a run with that as he is in position to be the number 3 corner on this roster. When you talk about the outside corners, of course, Shaw Smith-Wade has been playing pretty much most snaps at that nickel spot. If they go big nickel, you'll see Trevon Merrick, the free agent signing from the Raiders, who's going to be starting safety here in Carolina this year. He's gotten opportunities there, but it's really been JC, Mike, and Shaw as the starters. But looking at just outside guys like JC and Mike Jack, Corey Thornton, number 3 guy behind both of them. So that would be another undrafted free agent. If things play out the way they played out so far, that the Panthers would bring in and then have come in and maybe even play a decent role on the roster this upcoming season. Hopefully that's more of just rotating in than the potential injury, knock on wood. One-on-ones happened again. Adam Thielen was able to beat Shaw Smith-Wade on one of those, but then had Smith-Wade fall on him awkwardly. It was an underthrow. So they get a nice win against Corey Thornton, but an overthrow on that one. Got to see Jimmy Horn Jr., who had some pretty good routes, had a really good route, an easy win downfield against Trevon Merrick. Later on, Merrick did a really good job on Horn, who was, damn, that guy's shifty. So good play there. Later on, did see Adam Thielen get a win against Shaw Smith-Wade. And then Tetairoa McMillan, he was up against number 27, Shamar Bartholomew, won that route, but couldn't haul it in. It was a tough kind of catch he was trying to make, but he had a good session there. Leggett could not beat JC. Like, JC had it locked up, and that was a nice throwaway that they had to do with the quarterback. I think it was Bryce Young at that point in time. Jalen Coker continues to really dominate when it comes to 1v1s. He was able to win against Caleb Evans. Penalty flag was thrown on that one. Later on, he went up against Corey Thornton, easily won that route on an out route. Now, Thornton, granted, was playing off, so if that's kind of like a 3rd and 3 and he's playing off like that, like that's an easy first down, and you'd probably be frustrated as a fan if that's the coverage that they were playing with Girovero calling that. But overall, I think Coker's continuously looked apart during 1v1s when he's got an opportunity. It's just been overshadowed by what Hunter Renfrow, the new guy, has been doing. But more on Hunter Renfrow here momentarily on the show today. Going to 11v11, Cade Mays got his first opportunity to be the starting center with the ones in pads. It's back-to-back days now that Cade has been with the ones, and we go back to Saturday. Austin Corbett had bucked the trend where on Wednesday and on Thursday, we had seen Austin on Wednesday. We had seen Cade on Thursday of last week. Then on Saturday, we got to see Austin out there. And then on Monday, first day of pads, Austin was there again. So they have had Austin go back-to-back days on Saturday and Monday. Now Cade going back-to-back days on Tuesday and Wednesday, both of them getting 1 day in pads with Bryce Young and with the rest of the starting offensive line. DJ Wonnum and DJ Johnson were the outside linebackers who started out with the ones throughout the majority of the day. And that says a lot, because DJ Johnson is somebody who I was talking to somebody on the sidelines today, just asking, what do you think about 52? Like, what's going to happen here with 52 with the 2 guys they brought in via the draft, that being Princely Monmiel, the 3rd round pick out of Florida / Ole Miss, I guess. And then also Nick Scorton out of A&M. And they told me that apparently, and I saw SiriusXM was out there, they're doing their whole camp tour that they do every year, but they were out there. I guess Bill Polian, that's the old guy I had seen, and all due respect, but yeah, Bill Polian, I guess I saw him out there. I was wondering who the older gentleman was who was walking around SiriusXM. Didn't think that it was Bill Polian, but that would make sense that it would be him. But apparently Dave Canales was on with them and was speaking highly of how DJ Johnson has performed this camp. Now, Dave is a very positive guy. He's going to mainly talk up guys, not going to talk anyone down. We understand all of that. But it is notable that DJ Johnson, allegedly, according to this person, was brought up in a positive light by Dave Canales, which, again, not really anything that big of a deal, but the fact that he is getting to run with the ones when Princely Monmiel has been impressive. And then also Nick Scorton. Those are 2 guys you expect to play big roles. I'm just preparing you right now, mentally, physically, and emotionally, for DJ Johnson to be back on this roster, just based off of that. But we'll see how things play out moving forward once you get to the preseason game, but really against the joint practices with Houston and with Cleveland. Also, I saw Lathan Ransom, the rookie out of Ohio State at safety, saw him getting some run with the ones during the second period of 11v11. Into some plays. Bryce Young was intercepted by J.C. Horn. He was targeting Xavier Legette to the sideline. Looked like the throw was behind. Afterwards, J.C. did punt the ball. Now, they brought this up after practice. That love the play, love the emotion. Just don't want to see him punt it, but he also did say they kind of like it just because of the competition in the spirit that was out there on Wednesday morning. And he also did mention that with the interception, like timing, they're still trying to get that figured out. So that's not anything to be alarmed by, because Bryce did have a couple of interceptions that he threw today. Later, Bryce did have a really nice throw, thread and needle to Xavier Legette right over Corey Thornton. Adam Thielen had a nice catch with Bryce Young throwing it to him. Taylor McMillan had two really good plays on 11v11, had a nice one-handed catch, maybe the catch of the day, or maybe even one of the plays of camp so far on a downfield fade route. Also was able to beat J.C. Horn down the field on another fade thrown by Bryce Young. So two great plays that he was able to make. Nick Scott got a little spicy there. Bryce had a zone read keeper near the goal line, and Nick Scott hit him. So don't know what's going on with the defenders this year and touching the quarterback. Do they got to put them in a red jersey because they're wearing a black jersey instead? Like, I don't know what that needs to happen. But Nick Scott hit him and Bryce pushed him. So I don't know what. No fight, though. Only had one of those so far, unfortunately. I mean, it's a good thing, but it's always fun to have a training camp fight. All in good fun, really. But Nick Scott, kind of questionable there. Maybe don't do that. Chuba Hubbard then punched it in on the next play, and he punted the ball, going back to the whole emotions and competition of the day. Bobby Brown III had a nice play against the run, would have been a nice tackle for loss. Saw Jared Harrison Hunt, the undrafted free agent from Southern Methodist, that's SMU, getting some run with the ones. Derek Brown did not see him out there during team period. Dave Canales told us on Tuesday that he's dealing with some general soreness in his oblique. So it looks like they were taking things easy with him. 7v7, Nick Scott still got plenty of reps with the ones. We'll see how that's going. Damani Richardson clearly going to get plenty of opportunities with the ones. I would imagine he's going to start. I don't think Nick Scott was back here to start, but he is a veteran. He's somebody who knows the system. And as far as just getting their work in now, he's out there. We'll see. Shaw Smith-Wade, he had a good day. Maybe 1v1s, which are again catered towards the offense, haven't been his best so far. But like when we're out there watching them during 11v11 and 7v7, like he's made some plays. Like he jumped on a route that should have been intercepted. And he also had one during 11v11 where he almost intercepted Bryce in the end zone. I say that's during red zone period. Going to get to that here momentarily. But he's had good plays during camp so far. Lathan Ransom was in dime package. Special teams, Sam Martin, the punter who came over from Buffalo this offseason, he punted for the first time this training camp, was activated off of the non-football injury list, had a hamstring injury that cost him the first couple of days of camp. He had not punted on Monday and Tuesday as he was using the jugs machine. He was punting today on Wednesday. Kick Traversy update, Ryan Fitzgerald, his third time getting an opportunity to kick. He came into it 7 for 10 on the skinny post. And understand this, skinny post, not the regulation uprights. I have not seen a single kick that Ryan Fitzgerald and Matthew Wright have missed on the skinny post that I don't believe would have gone through the normal uprights. But today, he went miss, make, miss. So 2 for 5. Now he's 9 for 15, while Matthew Wright is 10 for 15. The first guy to blink during this kicker competition, which Dave Canales said earlier this week, he'll take into games. So that will be a game next week, and we'll see where it goes from there. And neither, again, have missed a kick that I thought would have been no good on the normal upright. So far, so good, but we'll find out later on, probably starting really next week, how that is going to go. Red zone period. As far as just the defensive starters, Turk Wharton, Bobby Brown III, Sean Robinson were starting. Wonnum, Johnson were out there at the outside linebackers, with Princely being the first one to rotate in. Corey Thornton, Shaw Smith-Wade, J.C. Horn at corner, and then Trevon Merrick and Nick Scott were out there at safety. And this is again where Tetairoa McMillan really shined. Had a nice diving catch on a comeback route towards the sideline. Later on, had another catch on an out route. Really was able to get open. Physicality has been the one thing he's kind of struggled with. And that's what Dave Canales talked about when he said today that this is his best camp or his best day of camp. He's been able to get used to that. Maybe Mike Jackson not being out there has been a little bit helpful, but he did have some nice plays against J.C. Horn. Speaking of J.C. Horn, J.T. Sanders had a touchdown catch in the red zone over him. J.C. was saying it was a push off. The ref did not throw a flag, but you're probably getting away with more during camp than you're going to get away with it during the season. Good play by JT, who then had a nice little dance, which may have been borderline depending on if it was a regular season game or not. Bryce Young nearly intercepted again by Shaw Smith-Wade, who, when he was targeting Xavier Legette in the end zone. So again, Shaw has found the way to the ball multiple times, and I think he's going to be a guy who's going to get a couple once the season begins. And Jero Vera was upset at one point with the defense. He was yelling at someone, telling them to do their effing job. I don't know who he was yelling at, but he was not happy. I think it might have been, I'm not going to say who I think it was going to be, but it was not happy there. So emotions playing out there as a competitive day of camp wrapped up there for day 7 for your Carolina Panthers. A couple of guys who did miss: Hunter Renfrow, Mike Jackson, Pat Jones. Apparently they are all dealing with something. We'll tell you what that something is here in just a moment on Locked On Panthers. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. I've been using Monarch Money for the past few months, and it's been a game changer for me as I've managed my money throughout my summer travels. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. A couple of updates injury-wise from Panthers head coach Dave Canales following Wednesday's practice, day 7 of Panthers training camp. We did not see Mike Jackson, Hunter Renfrow, or Patrick Jones in uniform. Matter of fact, I didn't see Hunter Renfrow at all. Someone said that they saw him walking gingerly. I didn't see him, but I did see Pat Jones. I did see Mike Jackson. He was actually on the ropes earlier in practice, and these guys are like wearing hoodies and like sitting out there in this heat. I don't know how they do it. I truly don't. I've gotten like the free fly, like sun hoodie to go out to the beach, and like that's been fun, but you have the wind. Like there was no wind. So I don't know how they're doing that here in this oppressive summer heat as we enter into dog days of summer here in Charlotte, but they're doing it. But Hunter Renfrow, some updates on him: Mike Jackson, Pat Jones. Hunter apparently tweaked his hamstring, which sucks because Monday was basically Hunter Renfrow day as he shined on day 1 of pads. His old college coach, Dallas Sweeney, was out there, all smiles, and Hunter talked to us, was candid with us, and everybody's been saying so many positive things about him. I wondered what this means for just not really Jalen Coker, we've talked about, with the entire receiving core and how they're going to be able to get all these guys the ball, keep everybody happy. If he's going to be the same Hunter Renfrow we had seen last time he was fully healthy back in 21, was a Pro Bowler in Las Vegas, but tweaked hamstring. Dave did say that he could play this week if it were a game week. They always say that, but they're going to check in a few days and see where he's at. My hope, at least if I was a Panthers, would be that in a week on Wednesday against the Browns during joint practice, he's ready to go, because that's really when you're going to need him. Let's see. Mike Jackson, he's dealing with a sore toe. Dave said to call it a toe sprain. Should be back soon. Pat Jones has an upper respiratory issue, so he's sick. That's what it is. He couldn't sleep last night, had a lot of tightness in his chest, so they decided not to have him out there when it's 1,000,000 degrees outside. I don't know if being outside when it's this hot and you're dealing with an illness is what you should be doing, but he was out there throughout the entirety of camp practice day on Wednesday. So those are updates there with those guys. Again, Dave said that Tetairoa McMillan had his best day of camp, and I thought that was clearly the case with the diving catch, with the catch over JC, some of the plays he made in the red zone. He's starting to look like the kind of player that you were hoping Carolina was getting when they decided to make that, what I felt like was a surprising decision at 8th overall to select him and to get a true number 1 wide receiver. So he's a guy who they've thrown in immediately as a guy who's going to be with the ones. Last year, they made XL work for it to get in there ahead of Mingo, which we knew it was going to take too long for him to surpass Jonathan Mingo, who's no longer a Carolina Panther. And I wondered if they're going to do the same with Tetairoa McMillan. No, they have not done the same at all. They have put him out there with Adam Thielen and with Xavier Legette, and those have been the starting 3. And he has gotten his opportunities to go up against Mike Jackson, to go against JC Horn. And what training camp is, y'all, and I think you understand this at this point in time, it's to get ready for the season. So when Dave talks about we need to get Derek Brown ready for week 1, like they're focused on getting him ready for week 1. If him sitting out And is that the best way to get them ready for week one? If that's what they believe, that's what they're trying to do. Like with Taylor McMillan, they know they have a guy who can help them and can be a big part of this offense. So they clearly felt like there's no reason to do the whole charade of, oh, he's got to earn his way. Now, they are trying to get ready for week one. They're trying to get ready for the season, and they put him out there through the ringer, and he has gone out there and he punched back today and played really well. Last thing, FanFest is on Saturday. I will not be there. Unfortunately, got to go out to Iowa for the Cup Series 8 race. So listen over to MRN to all the races this weekend because I will be directing that broadcast. But they'll be in pads. So if you have not gotten tickets to FanFest, I don't know if there's tickets available. They're going to be in pads. They're going to get after it. You're going to get a good look at this team, and the good on Dave and good on the organization for allowing y'all to actually see them do stuff where I don't think in years past FanFest has really been a lot to look at, but they're going to really give you something on Saturday night at Bank of America Stadium. I think it's actually going to cool down too. So it should be an awesome night. So I hope everybody is able to get out there and enjoy some time checking out the 2025 edition of your Carolina Panthers. That's going to wrap up this edition of the Locked On Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, hosted by yours truly, Julian Council. Again, y'all subscribe or follow the show for free over on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Be sure to follow me, Julian Council, over on Twitter and Blue Sky at Julian Council, because I will be back with you on Friday for a special training camp edition of the weekly Friday mailbag, the final weekly Friday mailbag of 2025. All you got to do is either at me or DM me over on Twitter or at me on Blue Sky to get those questions into me right now. But in the meantime, be safe, be happy, be whole. As always, keep pounding, and I will talk to y'all on Friday.